So welcome to this video, and in this video I just want to talk about power and powerlessness, because I've noticed on YouTube that when there is discussion about some of the larger agendas which threaten humanity and which seem to be being orchestrated by governments and extremely powerful organizations and corporations, then there's a sense of hopelessness, a sense of futility when people discuss it. They talk about these things as if there's nothing they can do, as if it's a foregone conclusion that we have to surrender. But this is not the case. This is categorically not the case. Because God is greater than all these organizations put together and has infinitely more power on this planet than any organization. And so we have to understand that we have to stand with God to understand what it is we can do. So when it comes to things like the whole 5G network rolling out across the globe, people are saying, well, there's nothing we can do, we just have to accept it, and what will be, and if we suffer, we suffer. And this is a defeatist attitude. And we must take a fighting attitude, not in a way of aggression, but in a way of combating this evil, which is basically springing up all around the globe and threatens to interfere with our health, with the way we live our lives. The threat is great, but that doesn't mean we are powerless just because the threat is great. Look at David and Goliath. Look how enormous Goliath was. The threat was great. Yet David knew he had God on his side. David knew that God will guide him and show him how to defeat Goliath. And I feel exactly the same way. The threat is great. The threat is Goliath. But I am in no doubt whatsoever that God will guide us to defeat Goliath. And to mix my myths and metaphors a little bit, there is an Achilles heel here. Goliath has an Achilles heel. And the Achilles heel here is 5G. There is an agenda being orchestrated. And 5G is the Achilles heel. Because the agenda cannot go ahead without 5G. If people do not allow 5G to remain up in their streets and everywhere they go, if people do not accept 5G, then this dark agenda cannot be successful. It's impossible because it hinges on 5G. 5G is the control and punishment mechanism, which is basically intended to keep people in subservience. Without 5G, that is simply not possible, I assure you. So please don't feel powerless. There is so much we can do, especially the first thing we should do is put our faith in God and know that God will guarantee our victory. Absolutely guarantee it. So do not accept 5G. Do not put up with 5G. Do not just sit down and say, well, what can we do? This is a 5G world now. No, it's not. If you don't accept it, if we collectively do not accept 5G as part of our world, then there is no way that it can go ahead. There is no way it can succeed. When everybody fights it, I mean everybody stands up and says, no, we do not want this. We have this mistaken idea that the government are the powerful ones and we are the ones who just have to put up with whatever the government decide. That's not true. It's just because we generally tend to just quietly accept what the government's doing. And generally there hasn't been any major threat from the government. But now this threat is great. With the United Nations behind all of this, the threat is great. And so we have to stand up and take our power, assume our roles of power and say, no, we do not want 5G. We do not want to live in a 5G smart society, i.e. 1984. And trust me, it is 1984. If it goes ahead, if it goes down the line far enough, the plan is 1984. A dark dystopian world of oppression and communism, orchestrated by the United Nations which is a socialist and communist organisation through and through, and I've researched them in great depth. So, we do not just accept that this is the way it is and that there's going to be suffering and pain, that the future is going to be dark. No, absolutely not. The future is in our hands. Our response dictates what the future will be. Are you going to sit down and just allow them to surround you with 5G? Or are you going to stand up and say, no way, I do not want 5G outside my home. I do not want 5G inside my children's schools. You have to stand up. If we stand up, we succeed. With the power of God behind us, all will be well, trust me. Okay, thanks for watching.